Let me ask you something. What do you get when you mix Buddhism, billion-dollar real estate, sex scandals, and the Chinese Communist Party? You get a Shaolin monk with a private jet, multiple mistresses, and secret children. No, I'm not joking. This isn't the plot of a Netflix drama. It is the real story of Shi Yongxin, China's most powerful monk, who just got jacked off by police in a move so explosive it could rip apart the entire Chinese religious system. And the craziest part? Everybody knew he was dirty. But for years, no one touched him. Until now. From temples to classrooms, from courts to homes, China is gripped by a crisis of belief. And that crisis comes from the moral collapse of ruling elites. After the Cultural Revolution, Marxist belief collapsed. But the party kept the shell intact, using Marx as a tool. With traditional culture and religion destroyed, nothing filled the spiritual vacuum. Now, the entire nation's moral foundation is shaken. In this system, religion becomes parody. The so-called pure lands of Buddhism become filthy marketplaces. Temples no longer represent inner peace. They are centers for money and power. Fake faith has become the system's operating logic. Education no longer teaches virtue. Courts no longer seek justice. Religion no longer guards discipline. This is China's true crisis. Not riots in the streets, but pollution of the soul. Let me take you inside the corruption of China's sacred temples and show you how the CCP turned Buddhism into a business, monks into multimillionaires, and faith into a farce. Back in 1981, a skinny 16-year-old named Liu Yingchen showed up at the crumbling Shaolin Temple. The place was a ghost town back then, just a few elderly monks and overgrown weeds. He took on the name Shi Yongxin and got ordained. But make no mistake, this guy wasn't there for spiritual enlightenment. He was there for power. In 1982, Jet Li's movie Shaolin Temple turned this quiet temple into a tourist gold mine. And while all the monks prayed, Shi Yongxin schemed. By his early 20s, he had muscled out the agent Albert and seized control. No one saw it coming, but he did. He played the long game, and he won. Eventually, he became not just the Albert of Shaolin Temple, but also the vice president of the Chinese Buddhist Association. In other words, he was the CEO of Chinese Buddhism. And just like a CEO, he built an empire. So what did he do with that empire? He monetized every inch of it. Shaolin was no longer a place for spiritual retreat. It was a business. Merchandising, hotels, martial arts shows, overseas franchise, Shaolin branded medicine, Shaolin branded real estate, you name it, they sold it. And Shi Yongxin, he got rich. Not monk rich. We're talking filthy rich. And of course, the sex scandals followed. Multiple mistresses, secret children, luxury hotels, lavish banquets. There are even leaked police transcripts detailing adultery investigations. This guy didn't just break Buddhist precepts. He trampled them with luxury designer shoes. You would think someone like this would be kicked out of Buddhism years ago, right? Wrong. Because he wasn't just a monk. He was a CCP insider, a religious tycoon with red connections. The Chinese Buddhist Association turned a blind eye for years. In 2015, when people publicly accused him of bribery and fathering kids with his lovers, the government said, no, not enough evidence. He walked free. Why? Because in China, if you serve the party protects you. Even if you're a monk who lives more like a mafia boss. So why now? Why is Shi Yongxin finally been taken down? That's the real mystery. His crime has been an open secret for decades. Everybody in Dunfen city, where the Shaolin Temple is located, knew about it. The internet knew, the monks knew, but the CCP did nothing until July 2025, exactly 10 years after the first major accusations against him. He was arrested by police from another city where, the temple was not located. That tells you this wasn't a local case. This was big and orchestrated probably by provincial officials, maybe even higher. And just 24 hours later, boom, a new Albert is installed, from the White Horse Temple with full state media support. Guess who visited that temple just 2 months ago? Xi Jinping. You see the pattern now? This guy's fall wasn't about justice. It was about timing, politics, power reshuffling. In authoritarian China, when someone survives scandal after scandal, it's rarely because they are innocent. It's because they have protection. And when that protection disappears, they fall. In a dictatorship, temples are part of the system. There's no real religious autonomy. Power breeds corruption, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, even in monasteries. Temple leaders are effectively part of the CCP bureaucracy. Aside from their robes, they're indistinguishable from officials. They inherit every voice of the party system. Here's what I think. This wasn't just about cleaning up Buddhism. It was about cash. Think about it. China's economy is struggling. Local governments are going broke. And temples, they're swimming in cash. Alberts with real estate portfolios. Temples with black market donation schemes. Cracking down on corrupt monks is a perfect move. You look virtuous, you grab assets. 2 birds, 1 temple. This isn't a moral reckoning. It is a political purge. And here's the tragedy. Shi Yongxin isn't the exception. He's the rule. The CCP has extended its control into every corner of society. Institutions like religion and law have lost all independence. The party doesn't openly ban religion. It hollows it out. Belief becomes performative. Sincerity disappears. Religious institutions are no longer places of spirituality. They're instruments of political stability. Temples must now promote patriotism and serve the party, and in return, the regime shelters corrupt religious leaders as long as they serve the system. This is the heart of the issue. A political, economic, religious triangle that fuels the decay of faith. When monks like Shi Yongxin fall, it may look like a moral reckoning, but it's often just a political reshuffle. Shi Yongxin was a product of the system. A monk, yes, but also a politician and a tycoon. The system created him, and the system just abandoned him. When religion is co-opted by the party, it becomes a tool. Monks become bureaucrats. Temples become propaganda machines. faith becomes fake. And religion just commercialized and controlled. And beneath it all, a society starving for something real, some truth, some soul. Instead, we get fake monks, fake beliefs, and fake morality. This may not be limited to Shaolin Temple. It could be the start of a nationwide purge. Many temples have amassed staggering wealth. Alberts sit on fortunes. And targeting land just allows the government to gain both moral legitimacy and cold cash. Today, the Chinese government is financially desperate. A temple purge could generate billions, and that money could patch up deficits and even fund a war. Make no mistake, the government is not cleaning up Buddhism out of moral concern. This is about control and resources. Shi Yongxin's downfall is poetic justice, but it's also tragic. He's not an isolated case. Similar scandals have erupted in Christianity and Taoism. This is not just a religion problem, it's a national crisis. Back in 1935, when Japan invaded China, students at Peking University cried that China is so vast, but there is not even room for one peaceful desk. Well, here's my update to 2025. China is so vast, but there's not even one truly sacred place left. The fall of this monk is not just the end of a corrupt monk. It is a symbol of what happens when power, politics, and money devour faith itself. So don't be fooled by the robes or the incense. Sometimes the most rotten souls hide behind the holiest walls.